Saturday. I'll do this as a video response to Paul's last comment. I really should find it. Let's have a look. Bong. No, it's not there. Okay. That's interesting. Something I'd said just before. Why would you approve or perhaps even admire, that's me approving or admiring, a vicious dog-eat-dog game? Is it human reverting to its animal state thing? What happened to your penchant, that's leaning towards, that we should act civilized to one another? First, this is where it really comes in. I find it much harder to justify the leaning that I've obviously put across, that we should act civilized to one another. I think whenever I say that, it's linked to something else. We should act more civilized towards one another if we want to, whatever it might be, live in a society where people are more civilized towards each other, where there isn't such a disparity between the wildly rich and the not so rich. But that's the linkage. We should act in a civilized manner if we want to live in a civilized world. What I'd kind of touched on in this comment before was that the rich generally do not live in a civilized world. And this is a much more naturally human existence than the rest of us live in. I was saying that the dog-eat-dog world is exactly descriptive of the rich world. They have to fight tooth and nail all day long as soon as they wake an eye up to when they close an eye each day. They have to fight to either maintain their position or to advance their position. Now, it's either like that or that's just the way they're built and that is what they want to do. And it's more that they are driven people and they just love the fight of it. Okay. Now I'll throw it down onto some cheap people. Imagine working for DHL or UPS as a delivery driver. It's okay. It's a clean and civilized existence, but there's no fight to it at all. You're told exactly what to do, where to be. You've got some discretion, but not much. And what happens is that your main job life, your working life, you're bringing home the dinosaur, is so boring that you have to watch exciting television in the evening and sports games at the weekend and look forward to a holiday sometime in the year. Basically, it's a pretty dull existence. But up in the boardroom there at UPS, they're fighting all day long among each other to get top dog position, and they're fighting FedEx and other competitors and things. They have a wonderful life. And another thing that I was saying in the comment was they go to work in their flash cars and they come from their big villas, and when they travel the world in private jets. But it isn't that makes their world so much better than most people's. Those are just the tokens. They don't live for those. Those are just frippery, extra. They're just the tokens they play with. It's the joy of the all day long fight. And that is what man is made for. we can go back 10,000 years easily and say that their brains were exactly the same as ours now. Let's go back a bit further, because 10,000 years ago was in the changeover from hunter-gatherer into city dweller, town dweller, established static dweller. And anthropologist types had or have always been confused about why the transition, because we're talking, let's say between the 50,000 years ago and now, there was a transition from hunter-gatherer to established dwellers. It took so long, at least 10,000 years, to make the transition. And the transition is a damn bloody obvious one. It's from living in a state of perpetual want and need to a state where, as long as things were organised properly, people could live knowing that their tummies would be fed all year round, etc., etc. It was a it was a natural and fantastic leap into civilization, but man did not want to take it, because it took 10,000 years for this idea to actually take over so much that we can say that hunter-gatherer was out and static dweller was in. Why? Because it's not in the nature of people, man, to live such a boring existence. And it's evidenced by the way that we live, that we need all these distractions all the time, because most of our life is so utterly and terribly boring. We are built to do much more what the rich people do, which is stabbing and being mean and vicious and getting on and doing all that sort of thing. There are people in that don't get rich that kind of do that sort of thing anyway, but they just don't do it at the elevated scale as the boardroom type rich people, the swanksters, as I'm calling them, the swanksters. But basically, that's it. We can want civilization for everyone, and in a way, it would be better for everyone. And you can say, well, it'd be better if we took some money, or a lot of money, off these rich people and gave it to the poor people. So they wouldn't notice that a little bit of money had gone, the rich people, and they wouldn't mind, as long as they can continue to play their games. As long as their minds are occupied, that's much more important to them than money in the bank and flash cars and yachts and jets and things. And give it to the poor people. But the poor people won't be made any more excited by it. It just stretches out their life into a more boring way. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done. I'm happy to maintain what I have been saying. If we want a more civilized society, we should do this, this, and this. But the idea that most people will be happy, content human beings in a more civilized society is wrong. They're not going to be. They're going to get bored and do something stupid. Now, you can say in a good civilized society, we'll make rules for the times where people get bored and stupid, and we'll squidge them. But it's just quite evident what's going on now. You see it, that people want the world to collapse so it'll be more exciting. They quite like people being killed in school because it's a bit more exciting. What Obama and Boner are doing in this discussion over the fiscal cliff, what are they doing? They're just playing the exciting game. It's so amazingly evident and obvious and stark and in red raw exactly what's going on, that surely nobody can be in any doubt is that they're just playing a game. They're in no way, shape or form trying to do what's right for the people to make life more civilized so everybody can be more civilized in the country. No, they're playing their red in tooth and claw, dog eat dog game. out completely in front of us who are bored, and we watch it and we get a bit of secondary excitement watching them playing their game. And it's, that's just one example that we'll all know about at the moment, but there's always an example going on. Over in the UK, there's some stupid thing about a politician that called a policeman a pleb or something like that. And that's being found out now that basically is all part of a huge web of games that are going on. And the public watch this about what's going on and who did what to what. This is what people do. This is what people get excited about. And that is what the politicians were up to behind the scenes, stabbing each other, which caused this incident, which caused amusement, merriment, distraction to the unwashed masses. This is what the unwashed masses, and that's all of us, want, is distraction from being bored. The last thing that a human wants is to be bored. The rich, and this is what I was expressing to Paul, do not get bored because they know that if they do something that's relaxing for a while, somebody won't be relaxing and will be stabbing up behind them. They have to live choppy all day long, all through their lives. And that is the best human existence you can get, because the worst thing to be is bored. The best thing to be is occupied all the time. Another example would be, people are getting older now, but the two generations that said, not so much actually for the First World War, is actually more out of the Second World War, where people said their war years were their best years of their life. They weren't bored. They had a direct goal to go for, camaraderie, teamwork, and they could work towards it, and it was vital and important. And that's how the rich feel all day long, that they're doing something vital and important for themselves, but in an overall picture, they know that the people below them look up to them and think that what they're doing is vital and important. This Obama boner thing. In a way it is. But the people aren't looking at it so much for, this is, the resultant could be that a child might not get this sort of treatment if they don't say the right things. They're looking at it for the excitement of the fight between the two idiots and all the rest of their teams up in Washington. Humans are humans, basically. And it's just all entertainment. And the best entertainment is really scary stuff, or really vicious stuff, really frightening stuff. And when you live a life of scary, vicious, that's really living. Driving a UPS van and going home and watching television isn't really living. That's what I was talking about. So I'll stick with, if you want to live in a civilized world, then you do the things that I would have been talking about. You'd have to do A, B, and C. But that's only if you want to live in a civilized world. I don't really think most people do. They kind of want to live in their civilized world. They want to be safe and content, but watch the excitement of other people stabbing and killing and living in a red raw world. Humans aren't built to live in little safe cocoons. They just don't like it. And we spend our life forcing it upon everybody. And in a way, I approve of it, because that's what people would vote at the polls, that we do want to be civilized. They'll vote for the civilized things. But I don't really think that they want it for other people. Take it for themselves, so they can go out and just play the game of stabbing from a safe position. Humans are just animals. And just look around you and see the animals in action. There's no civilizing it, really. And once more, the Obama boner thing going on at the moment, they're just dicking about. Why are they dicking about? It's because they're animals. Just like us.